Good evening and welcome to Chasing Prophecy on the UPR Radio Network. I'm Jenny Nikowski along with my co-host Sean Kelly and John Ventry. Welcome everyone. We have a great show tonight. Make sure you like us on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitch and Rumble and TikTok. So make sure you follow us. And thank you again for joining us tonight. You can chat with us, have any questions for our show. We'll be glad to answer them. How are you guys? Not
We're
sure
doing
Or it
okay.
didn't work right. I'm not sure why our entry did not play. It stopped in the middle of it, as usual. There's always something wrong with StreamYards, but we can't control that, can we, guys?
Nope.
So what's going on, Sean?
Well, it is the busy time of the season for meat cutters, and so I've been really busy at work. We just got over with the turkeys, and now in about a week we're going to start on the hams, and
Oh,
then the day after Christmas, the 26th, is when we have to start cutting pork. Now I don't know if that's just a Pittsburgh tradition. Does anybody know? Where you have pork on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day for good luck. Is that only in Pittsburgh or is that in other places? I
I
was
never heard
wondering.
of that.
the
Yeah,
pork? I think that's something with the, isn't it something with New Year's Eve? It's supposed to be good luck to have pork?
on New Year's Day.
New Year's
New
Day?
Year's Day.
When
Yeah.
did the Italians do fish?
They
We do
do
that on
that
Christmas
Christmas
Eve.
Eve.
Christmas Eve.
I
Yes,
did
we do.
that one time. I did that one time Christmas Eve with all the seven fishes or
Oh,
whatever.
who were you with? You were with somebody that was, were you
No,
with
the
somebody that was,
Slovakians actually do it themselves too because I
oh,
was
wow.
married at the time. Yeah. And
Cool.
my ex wife, she is Slovakian and they do that too.
Oh, I
The
didn't know
seven
that.
fishes. Yeah.
I did not know that. So I learned something today.
Hmm.
So Sean, John, where are you at? You're like, you don't tell exactly where you're at, but you are not at your own basement
No,
anymore.
I'm at Panera in Westmoreland, and I'm a big believer in demonic interference, and I helped my son move to Missouri this past weekend. Right, every single thing that could have gone wrong went wrong. I mean, it was incredible. The storage place in Missouri, because they're building this house, the website says open 7 days a week. He called them. Yeah, well, got the answering service. We get there, they're closed. Uh, they sent us. Then we made some other calls. Yeah, go to this one, and it's what it is the answering services. They don't check anything. Yeah, go over there. It took us three locations till we found one that was open, and we have the movers with us at $120 an hour and a
Oh,
half
Jesus.
wasted.
That's
Um,
crazy.
and then he parked. It was pouring rain. He parked behind my daughter's house, and I guess he didn't know exactly which was her house. He went a little too far. He dropped into a gigantic hole, and
Oh
and
wow.
and the moving truck was stuck. We had to get one of those big gigantic trucks like you see on the in Alaska. $400 for 10 minutes to pull them out. I mean,
Wow.
every single thing went. I don't want to go into all of it, but everything went wrong. The people who packed the truck, everything, and then I get home and nothing's working. It's like when my house got hit with a lightning, and everything went out. I don't know. It's just, but I believe things happen for reasons, and there's angelic and demonic interference. I saw it all throughout the weekend. Every
Well,
single thing you can think of, it didn't go our way.
Wow.
well, I can tell
Um,
you, there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes around, everywhere.
I
Not
know.
just not happening to you, but all
Well,
over the world.
listen to this stuff. I get home last night and I lay down and I said a few things out loud. And what do I hear down the hallway? A bang. So I don't
wow.
respond to it, right? Then there's a really loud bang. Boom. And
Ugh.
I sit up in bed and I say to him, I hear you. Shut the fuck up. I guess I shouldn't have said that on the radio.
Yeah, you should have
Woo!
said that.
Oh, we're
We're
done.
we're gonna get bogged. We're
That
not supposed to
that's
swear on the
that's a
radio.
I
dollar in
forgot.
the swear jar.
Sorry,
This,
but and then it stopped. And this is like recently the third time that there's been these bangs. And when I respond to it, acknowledge, yeah, I heard you leave.
You should just
Boom,
don't
and that's it.
just
It's
don't
gone.
talk to them.
I don't know if these bangs are just ghosts from the cemetery.
Maybe.
I don't get the impression they're demonic entities. I don't. If they're trying to send me a message, I don't know. I don't want to communicate with them, but I don't know how to get a message unless you know Morse code. You know.
Maybe. Well,
I'm there, Saul.
let's get to tonight's show. So if you have any
Yeah, yeah.
questions tonight, we have a really interesting guest with us this first hour. Her name is Nikki Jacobs, and I hope I'm not screwing that up because you know how I am with words. I don't know what's going on with my every time I get a little bit older, it's harder for me. But Nikki Jacobs is an ET abductee, and she calls herself an experiencer and contactee since the age of 4, including being participant in an ET hybridization. Am I saying that right?
Hybrid.
She's a program, and she's also a psychic medium with 8 clears, which continues to grow and expand. She's battled dangerous psychics. I'm not really sure. She's going to have to explain to us what she means by she's battled dangerous psychics who use their own abilities in detrimental ways against others and numerous years ago. So we're going to ask her what that exactly is. And there's more, she can go on. And she's been involved in government based black ops, psych ops, treasury, manipulative psychic actions, and so many other things, psychic energy. So without further ado, let's bring her on so she can explain a little bit of this stuff. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy, Nikki.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, thank you.
You have to explain to me what all this is. Now, tell me, give us a little background of when this happened. I know you said 4 years old in your bio.
Yeah.
But when did you think it was something other than just a child's imagination? Like when did this all begin that you knew that you were different, you were special?
Never thought of myself as special. Didn't realize, I don't even know how to explain it. I just didn't know any different to some degree. Being 3-4 years old, you're on board a craft, and the picture that I've got behind me, the paint, let's see, yeah, that one right there. That is the beginning of a painting that I've been working on for a while whenever I've got time, and it depicts when I was 4 years old on a craft, and fascinated because they took me and numerous other children out into space, into galaxy, whatever the bleep you want to call it, and we saw what I now know are nebulas, and like the butterfly. That's a depiction of the butterfly nebula, very bad depiction, but I didn't know that until 2019 when I was scrolling through my phone on Facebook, and somebody had written an article on a nebula that NASA was either just reposting again, or I had never seen it. And I nearly collapsed and dropped my phone on the counter and had to grab the counter because I nearly went down, because the first words out of my mouth were, I know that as the infinity galaxy. And I had to stop myself and actually go, wait a minute, what the bleep did I just say? And I'm like, yeah, because I've had this memory all my life, but I had shoved it off. And, and then I go back into the memory and I'm like, this is real. I mean, I had this memory for years, all the way up until 8, 9, 10 years old. And then just life starts happening when you're a kid. You're experiencing regular life things and you don't think any more of it. But there was a process around the age of 7 years old where I had an ET standing at the foot of my bed, and I had begged and pleaded her to show herself to me because she was telepathic and talking to me in my head. And she showed herself to me, and I lost my ever living freaking mind, started screaming, and she instantly disappeared. And at that moment in time, because I freaked out, and of course Mom came in and all this other stuff, but because I freaked out, I put they didn't want to show me anything ever again after that. So they started hiding stuff from me, and I have a few memories, but that's the one that stands out to me, is standing on board what I thought was the ship's control room, which is not. It definitely wasn't. And there were adult humans that were trying to help the ETs get the kids to understand certain things. So yeah, it wasn't imaginary.
Mhm.
It
Now,
just
Nikki, in your family, has anybody else ever been abducted?
nobody has verbalized it. When I was about somewhere between the ages of 6 and 7, my grandmother, she lived in an apartment building. She'd gone blind, and she was living on the 3rd story of this building. Long way around this to answer your question. I saw a human standing, or I thought was standing. I was in the kitchen, at her kitchen at the time. She was having me tend something on the stove. And I turn around and I'm looking down her very little living room out the window, and there's a guy standing, and I walk up to the window going, how is that possible? And by the time I get to the window, I realize this guy's floating. I can see him. And my grandmother was like, tell me what you're seeing. And I describe bits and pieces, but I don't tell her everything. And that's when she tells me, oh, he's got a baseball cap on, doesn't he? And it's whatever color it was at the time. And I looked at her and I went, yeah. And she goes, shh, Nicole, we don't talk about those things. We don't want to go to the nut house. And I'm like, but Grandma, and she's like, shh, Nicole, we don't talk about those things ever. And so I learned from my grandmother, you don't freaking talk about this kind of stuff. And I didn't talk about it before that. There was something in me that always knew you don't talk about these things, and I didn't talk about any of it. And as far as I knew then and knew up until a number of years ago, that I didn't have family that was abducted or that had abilities. And it wasn't until most of my close family is on the other side now. And every once in a while I hear a chuckle, and somebody makes a snide remark or comment on, one of the family members makes a snide remark on something that I've said regarding ETs, and I'm like, okay, Grandma, you want to run that by me again? So then I find out that my dad, and I don't have validation for any of it because they're all dead. I mean, yeah, they could tell me, but it's not like them telling me while they're sitting in front of me and we're having a conversation. Completely different ballgame.
That's amazing
Next.
stuff.
That's kind of crazy there.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I just had a conversation with friends this morning about an abduction, a possible consciousness abduction last night. And that's the other thing. They don't just take you physically.
So what do you mean, like, when you say conscious? It's all the mind. They don't take the body.
There are times when, if they're going to work with you physically, they will take the body. There are other times where and I don't understand this. I'm still learning this. I'm still trying to wrap my own mind around it, because it is way beyond my mind. I mean, and I've had a conversation a scientific conversation with Einstein because somebody else was talking about science stuff, and I'm like, I have no idea what the heck you're talking about. And the next thing I know, Einstein is standing next to me telling me, oh, tell them that. So I don't have a science mind. I mean, I'm very mechanically inclined, but I don't have a science mind for this stuff. So to say consciousness, the only thing that I can equate it to is quantum physics. Quantum physics is the only thing that I can semi understand. What I know is that the ETs will abduct physically, but I also know and have experienced numerous experiences that I actually remember where they have taken my consciousness and put it into another body. And I'm like, I can't, and see, me even saying that is like, I can't even believe I'm talking about that because it's so far removed from our existence on the planet. It is so far removed from what we as humans can conceive of and can grasp. So it's a huge, when abductees talk about things, they'll even talk about screen memories. So yeah, I've got what are classified as screen memories too that I try to break through. I had an incident where that happened just a few days ago. I think it was over the weekend. I'd have to look at my notes. I keep explicit journal notes because I have to, because I'm like, I'm not going nuts. I'm one of these people that is very logical and sequential based and oriented, and I try to understand this. And it's hard. I experience it sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes every couple of weeks, sometimes once a month. And I'm still trying to wrap my logical brain around this. And you add the religion factor into it too, because I'm a Christian. Oh, that's a totally different mindset.
I can see that.
Completely mind-boggling. Completely mind-boggling.
So let me ask you. So when your consciousness was put into another body, was the person awake?
The
Or
body
they
was a
sleeping?
clone. The body was a clone, and I woke up in it in mid-sentence. This happens whenever they take me that way, and I don't know how else to explain it. But whenever that happens, it's my body. And I have
It's a
learned
clone
I
of
have a
you.
30 yeah, I have learned that I have a 32-year-old, a 34-year-old, and a 36-year-old. Guys, I'm 54 years old. I've had a child. When you're 54 years old, ladies that are listening, you have certain items that fall. Okay? Now, in my 30s, those suckers, they weren't the little, but those two items, they weren't falling. They were nice, big, and perky. And I'm like, I'm waking up having a conversation with somebody literally mid-sentence, and I'm talking to another woman, another human who is another abductee. I look in her eyes, and she and I registered at the same exact moment that we were just waking up in our clone bodies. I have yet to meet this woman. I would love to meet this woman. We would have a ton of things to talk about if she's remembering. But that's the thing. If
Well,
she's
can
remembering.
we back up
Yeah.
a little bit? What is having
Ask whatever.
what is having perky body parts have to do? I don't understand. What does that have to
Okay,
do with them?
it means that I was younger. Okay.
Okay.
And I had a specific body type. Okay. That is how hello, I'm morbidly obese. I have no problem in talking about almost anything. Okay. I have no problem in talking about that. When I was in my 30s, I was fit.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're saying that you
So
were
what
transformed?
I knew when what I'm saying is that I knew that I was not in this physical body that
Okay.
I'm
So
in now.
your consciousness was like transplanted into somebody else.
Yes.
Is that okay? I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Into the clone body and I've seen clone bodies. I know how and people are like, that's full of, and I'm like, no, it's not. I've actually talked with other abductees who know exactly what I'm talking about.
So it was your
And they're like,
clone
I'm not
body or
crazy.
somebody else's?
No, it's my clone body.
Okay, so it's you.
They store the
Your
clone bodies.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it now. I just want to make sure I understood this.
They store the clone bodies. And what I don't understand is what the
Thank you, Robert.
bleep is her mind was placed in a younger version of herself. Yes, thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, Mr. White. So what I want to know is, what are we being used for?
Yes, I want to know too. What do you think? What is your opinion?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. There have been times where I've woken up with a 8-foot tall female. I can't classify her as a reptilian. I can't classify her as a. I'm looking over here because she was on my right side, and it's a very vivid memory. And she had we're on radio and you guys are on video, so her legs came forward to a knee, like humans do, and then backwards, and then forwards again onto four type of toes.
So it's like a horse or a dog that has an extra leg part.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. Big, muscular. The skin was leathery like. And the reason why I'm describing this is because you had just asked, what do I think their goals are? In this case, she had weapons on her, things that I can't even, and I do know that it was a gigantic, oh my God. I'm 5'3". This weapon was almost 5 feet in length. Okay. And it was like a hip holster type of device that she put it into. I don't know how else to explain it any simpler than that. And I knew that it shot blue energy. What is that energy? I have no idea. Now, when we were getting off, there were 3 of us on this lift. There was her, and then me, and then to my left was a human female that had also woken up in her clone body. And we were on this like pedestal type thing that was raising like an elevator. And the one thing this ET had said was, don't put your arms on the wall, they'll be cut off. Your arms will literally be cut off, because they were raising this platform so fast. And where we got off at this next level, there were male ETs that were between a foot to 2 feet taller than she was, and oh my God, they were huge. And she was giving this human woman and I, instructions in how to think around the males, because the males were aggressive, would be the violent is not the word I would use. Aggressive is the word I would use. But here's the thing. The ETs that are creating the clones, the ETs in the hybridization program, they are not anything like these sets of ETs. And there was a comment from last week that I want to talk about, because it's something that I have heard over and over and over again. And this is the assumption that ETs are demons. Hello, have you seen a demon? I have. Real life, in my psychic mediumship abilities, I have. Completely different race of beings. I don't know what to call them. I've seen them. I've dealt with the wannabes. I call them the wannabes because some of them are They're all, well, not all of them. I was going to, can you use the A word here?
Well, we already used the F word, so.
Well, now I know that's a no-no. Because the wannabe, what I call the wannabes, those are real a-holes. They range in about 1,200, 1,500 years old or older. The true ones are very rare on Earth. They do show up, but they're very, very rare on Earth. And the ETs are nothing in all the different races or species of races that I have come across. They're nothing in comparison to the race of demons or jinn. Very, very different beings. And with my experience, I get a little frustrated with that, but that's what everybody thinks and believes, and I get that. But it's a completely different section. They're living, the ETs are in the physical world, but yet they can do so many, oh my God, mind-boggling things with their mind, their own consciousness, whereas the demons live in like the etheric world, which
But they can
is
manifest
essentially
here.
yes, they can manifest here. Yes, they can do a lot of damage too. So that's one of the reasons why I try to promote. Look, think about what you're thinking of, because you can actually draw things in. You don't want to do that. That's not
Is there
fun.
a
I've actually
support
seen.
group for you that you can talk to people about this?
I have been told there are. I know of a couple of ladies. There's a lady called Samantha Mowat, who is an abductee who talks very openly. She's been on a number of TV shows. Oh, brain fart, guys. Sorry. There's another lady. I cannot think of her name at this second. Geraldine Orozco. She's also been on a couple of TV shows. Both of these ladies have done an extraordinary amount in bringing forth information. Yeah, we'll get into that one in a minute. They've brought incredible information forth as experiencers, contactees, abductees. And it's a process. That's the one thing that I've learned, is that this is a process. And that's one of the things that I try to promote. If you are an abductee, there are places that you can talk about this that are safe. You need to understand that. They're few and far between, but they're so much better than they were even years ago. And there were very, very little. And know that you're not alone.
Nikki,
Yeah.
I don't want you to take this as disrespectful in any way. I just wanted to know.
Honey, I've heard it all.
Okay. Were you ever screened for any kind of behavior issues before regarding this, or?
Regarding this, no.
No. So have you ever had?
I've gone through counseling. I've gone through the psychological. I've gone through healing. All that.
And you were never.
Believe me, I know. And I've had people who have known me for all my life. I've had others who've known me for 40 years who are like, wow, why didn't you ever talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because there's a lot of stigma with it. And on top of that, a lot of it I had blocked. And a lot of it was blocked for me by the ETs themselves. And let me tell you, when Preston Dennett was on last week and he talked about the the process of the abductees going through the emotions, that's no joke, man. That is no freaking joke. I went through in 2018 and 2019. I even poo-pooed my own self and was like, this is nuts. Well, guess what? You can't poo-poo it anymore when you find yourself trying to open your eyes. You have fans sitting a foot and a half from your big fans, okay? We're talking, like, I use the Vornado fans in the summertime. And for whatever reason, during the spring, I was still using fans.
Okay, what's
Or I
that with the
started.
fans? Because I know someone else that uses fans constantly ever since he had an experience. What is it with the fans?
Well, that's what I'm getting to right now. The whole reason I knew that I was way above my bed is because those fans were aimed at the ceiling. They were not aimed at my bed in any way, shape, or form. I had two of them sitting side by side. And I had to have, for whatever reason, I had to have air circulating. It drove me nuts. I needed the circulation, the air circulating. Well, when you wake up and you're shivering and you're so cold that your teeth are actually chattering uncontrollably, and you start feeling yourself and where you can't open your eyes and you can't move, and your body is literally, you're going above the fans, and the next thing you know is you can start to feel yourself coming down through your sheets and your blankets, and then you can feel the weight of your body again. And I was released. I wasn't allowed to open my eyes at that time, and I had kicked something at the end of my bed, and I don't have a bleeping thing sitting at the end of my bed. Nothing. And what was it that was so hard that my toes instantly tried to grab onto? What? There was nothing there.
You have a
There was
footboard on your bed?
nothing. I don't have a footboard. I don't have a headboard. I don't have anything at the end of my bed. And I'm, like I said, I'm 5'3". I'm in a queen size bed.
Hmm. What
So
makes you
what
think?
was it?
What makes you think these are extraterrestrial and not just a cryptid or a different species on Earth?
Because I've
Why the
dealt
jump to ET? Or what?
because I've dealt with the other,
How?
literally.
How did you deal with others?
Oh, that's more like a 4-hour conversation. How do I even explain that? It's just something that I've dealt with. I've dealt with it psychically. I've dealt with them via threat, via energy. Uh, I've had numerous beings around me that are like, yeah, try and take her on. They don't like me. I get mean. I get very nasty when it comes to somebody who tries to mess with me, and it's etherical, and it deals with the etheric. But
So
I'm not that way in my regular life at all.
what's the worst thing that ever happened in your encounter?
With the ETs
Yeah.
Yeah,
or with other things.
Well,
ETs.
yeah. Well, tell us ETs and then tell us with the others. What's the worst thing that has happened?
Well, the worst thing is something that I will probably never describe. I've had body parts removed and put back.
Oh, that's horrible.
I was, now this I've talked about publicly. I have a memory where they literally,
If you don't want to share this, don't.
no, I've talked about this before and I don't know why I'm hesitating now. It's just I go through this periodically and it upsets me no matter what I do. And it's something I have to let go of and it's part of my process. Sorry, that's not directed at you. That's directed at me. Because this is a learning process. And that's something that we all have to understand. It is a learning process for all of us. Okay, I'm avoiding.
Do you
I was a
have any
kid. I was a
scars?
kid.
Do you have any scars?
Not like what you would think. I have marks. I've had surgeries. They've done surgeries. When I was a child, one of the things that I remember was them putting in some kind of device into my mouth and they shattered the roof of my mouth. Now, what I can tell you is that over the last 25, 30 years, I've had a number of doctors tell me, dentist tell me, a chiropractor, neurologist tell me, I don't know if it's in my records, but they have verbally told me to my face, why are your nerve endings not where they're supposed to be? What the freak is the point of altering a person's shifting? That's the kind of stuff where I get angry. I get really angry over that kind of stuff. What is the logical sense of doing that to somebody? I know somebody who woke up on the table with their skull wide open. What is the logical sense of that kind of thing? And then I turn around and a year ago, they did surgery on me and I woke up after I was returned and the back of my mouth and my left ear canal, a station tube, was completely altered. Now I have what is in my medical records. It has been known that I have unusually small station tubes. Well, now I don't, at least on the left side.
This is fascinating. Go back to where you were describing it and you were interrupted. I would love to hear about what you were talking before.
Which one?
Oh geez, you were describing something that they did to you that was horrible. You can't even describe it.
Where they shatter my mouth?
Oh, it was before that. Was that it? The shattering of your?
Yeah, I think she went
there's
back
the
to
shattering of my mouth. There's parts of organs removed and put back. I've had children removed. Didn't know I was pregnant, but yet I did know I was pregnant. How is that possible?
So how do you say
2
that this
years.
is a good thing? How do you say that this isn't an evil thing? Sounds evil to me.
Yeah. At some point, you work through it and you figure out they're doing something for the greater good. But there's so many different races. The ones that are, there are 3 different races that take me. Now that's so fun because there's one race that just I can stand. Here's an example. I can stand on Whidbey Island. I'm in Washington State. Sorry, my phone just beeped. I'm in Washington State. I can stand in a certain small park on Whidbey Island. And there were witnesses to this. We were out on a night watch and observing the skies. And I turn and I start getting frightened. And I turn more and I'm no longer frightened. And I found out that night that I have an instinct knowing for what I call the bad ETs, because I get terrified. I mean, like mind blinding terror. And I know when I'm around them. And it's the same way people talk about Groom Lake in Nevada. No, 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 no. There's a lake, I don't remember the name of the lake in Nevada right at this second. But there's a lake that every time I've passed by it, it's a good thing I'm sitting in a car going past it, because I panic really, really badly. And I've never panicked going past, and the only thing I can equate it to is there's got to be ETs in or around, somewhere around that lake. And that lake area is a government base area. It's a known government base area. So when I'm on Whidbey Island, I get the same exact incredible terror. The other two races, I'm not afraid of. They piss me off sometimes, and there have been times where I have woken up in my bed where I'm literally coming out of, and I can't call it sleep, but I've literally been brought back, and I am screaming, verbally screaming at them. You do that again, I'm going to find a bleep, 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 hatchet, and I'm going to cut you to ribbons. Don't blink with me. Don't F with me. And then I get in my head, shh, we don't want to talk like that. And I'm like, don't effing tell me what to do. So there are times where I get very angry. It's like I said, it's part of a process. And then there are times where I'm able to hold one of my hybrid children.
What's the kid look like?
Human. There have been numerous hybrid children that have appeared human. And then when I see them later, and I know it's them because I recognize their soul, which is weird. That's another weird one. Recognizing somebody's soul simply by looking at their eyes. Not their body, but by their eyes.
Was their face any different? How do you know they were hybrid, though?
They've changed. Hello, they're green.
Oh, they really are green, your hybrids?
Not all of them, but
no, they more like the reptilians.
I've had ones that were blue. I've had ones that are green. I've had one that was a gray color. I don't know how to describe her. She had an undertone of Caucasian, but she had this light gray color to her. I don't know how else to describe her. They've all, that I remember, because I don't remember all of them, I have been told I've had 26. And I'm like, what? You're out of your freaking gourd. And I'm like, no, you've been told 26. That's what I get told. No, you've been told 26. So, I just, it's hard for me to even comprehend this.
Nikki, do you think that there's like a Stockholm syndrome here where you can't do anything about it, so you're trying to rationalize it and accept it? I mean, like when last week I talked about my experience, and what I saw is these two hybrid kids, and I felt one was mine, and he was really deformed. And to me, it was very upsetting that I can't save him. I can't get to him. I would never allow that to happen to one of my children. So,
Let me tell you a
are
story.
you just trying to accept it because there's nothing you can do about it?
That's how I think I was before I was more consciously aware of it. I know that I've been incredibly angry like deep down enraged, angry. There are times where there are times where I've learned to accept it because there are things that you're right, can't control it. Do I think it's a Stockholm? No. But at the same time, I have to register and acknowledge that I've got a soul contract with 2 of them that I'm aware of. I don't know about the 3rd. If I've got a soul contract with them, I know somebody that she and I are going to have a little conversation because she's real good at breaking soul contracts with the ETs.
What
would
is
you-
exactly
it's
is a
not
soul
easy.
contract?
Yeah, what's a soul contract?
Soul contract is something that you as a soul, when you're on the, I was going to say the the etheric side, after you've died from this lifetime, you're in a different form. Okay? You're a form of a spirit, as we call it. That's not what they themselves are called, but that's what we call it. Don't ask me the term. I don't know the term. I just know that that's what we call it, but they call themselves something else. Now, before we choose getting into what the next body is, we make an agreement with the hierarchies as to who's going to be in our life. And we make an agreement. It's literally a contract. Can contracts be broken? Yes. Can soul contracts be broken?
Oh,
It's very difficult. Now, soul contracts are similar to the write-up for Akashic Records. Yes, Robert White, I agree with that. The woman before had asked about what my family thinks of this. The spouse and the son. I do not know what my cousins. Those are the only family I've got left. Very difficult. Do not know what my cousins think of it. And personally, I honestly don't give 2 brats bleep what anybody thinks of it. It is my experience. It is what is happening to me and to F with everybody else. If you
Sarah
can't
Ford,
handle it, you can't handle it. That's your prerogative. That's your
Mhm.
perspective. That's what you think. That's fine.
Do you
But
want
this
this
is
to
my experience.
continue? Do you want this to
Oh man.
continue?
I
Or,
want
the
what I
advice,
want.
yeah.
What I want is I want to have access to my children. The only one that I have access to is via consciousness and via telepathic communication.
Access
And
to
it's
my
pure.
children.
Whoops,
To
hello.
via
the hell was that?
It's a backwash. Go ahead.
So what I want is to have access to my kids. That's what I really want. I know that we as humans are being used as a form of not surrogates, that's not the word. I can't think of the terminology. Sorry guys, I had a very serious medical issue yesterday and I didn't even honestly know if I was going to make it to the show tonight.
It's okay. You're doing fine.
So I'm having lots of little brain farts, so I apologize because I'm normally much more succinct. What is it when you have a ambassador? Thank you. Other side just said ambassador. There are numerous ETs that are using the humans as ambassadors. Why? I do not know. That fascinates me no end. Those are the kinds of things I would like to know about.
Sarah
Seriously,
Forbes
why?
has a question.
Yeah.
What are the greater good? Well, first one is, why do you feel they chose you?
mouthpiece is the first thing that pops into my head, but why me?
But
I have no idea.
they
I
didn't
mean,
choose you. You made a contract.
yeah, we made a contract, but here's the thing. I've learned that I've had numerous lifetime contracts with these guys. There's 2 races that I know. And how do I know that? Because I'm remembering, oh, this gets into a whole nother subject. I'm remembering vast amounts of lifetimes. And that has been shocking, especially as a Christian. That has been really shocking to me. But I've learned to accept it. I've learned it's part of the process of the soul.
All right.
It's
See,
just, I'm sorry. It just,
don't
it
worry
gets
about
old.
And
It's
Sarah
just-
comes back with another question. What are the
Yeah.
greater goods that you believe they are working toward?
Consciousness. I believe that, okay, and there are many reasons why I believe this, but I'm not going to get it. There's not enough time to get into all of that. I believe that they are trying to raise consciousness with humans. Why? There are, the more we escape the human, how do I say this? The more we escape the human, okay, that's going to get into, oh yeah, how do I say this?
To elevate the mind?
Well, it's not just to elevate the mind, it's to elevate the soul. It's to bring about a better form of humanity in the grand scheme of things, a better form of not just love, care, and compassion. It goes way beyond that. In many levels, we become better. On many, many levels, we become better human beings. We become not so violent, and yet then you've got, I say that, and then I think about the ones who are violent, and they're not actually a heck of a lot of them that are violent, but there are some.
Okay, she came back with another question.
Yeah.
Why can't they contact all of us, especially when we are open to it? Why not
That's-
make a
Sorry, go on.
Why not make a public, undeniable display to make us all aware and work with us to open our conscious being to a higher level?
Bravo! That's my point too. There have been times where I've yelled and screamed at them. No joke. I've done my yelling and my screaming, and I'm like, come on. And they're like, humanity's not ready for it. Your governments are not ready for it. And I'm like, F the government. Excuse me. I don't give a rat's bleep as to which piece of land you live on. Screw the governments. They're shutting everything down deliberately. Screw them. Deal with the people. Deal with the population. Start talking. Start showing more. Well, they're doing more of that.
No shit.
But it's frustrating.
What are you moaning about, Sean?
I keep getting some woman that keeps Skyping me, and I'm like, no, I don't want to hear
Mentioned you are a Christian. Okay, you mentioned that you are a Christian. No judgment here, but do you feel that this is more a dark and demonic source? No.
John does.
Excuse me?
John does.
I do.
Oh, that's fine.
You're
Oh, yeah.
dealing with fallen angels, in my opinion.
Oh no, I've seen a fallen
some of
angel.
them.
They're
Some of
over
them.
25 feet tall. I've had one sitting right here, or not sitting, excuse me, sitting, yeah. his ass down here on my. No, I don't think so. Anyway, I've seen one before. Way over 25 feet tall, so blinding white light that I couldn't look up to it. It hurt my eyes. It hurt my
Well, why would
physical
a
eyes. It
fallen
hurt my
angel have
psychic
white
eyes.
light?
I
They're
don't know,
tricksters.
but
They're
I knew that that's
tricksters.
what they were.
You know, they say that they can appear as angels. They're tricksters. They come in all different sizes and
But
shapes
not
and can
not all
shapeshift.
fallen angels are bad. That's the thing. That's
Well,
what
if
the
they're
belief
fallen, they
is.
are. If they're fallen, they are. If they're
No,
angels, it's
no.
different.
See, that's where you and I disagree because I've
Okay.
learned differently.
All
And
right.
that's okay.
It could be a
That's
trick,
okay
though.
because at least we're talking about it. And
Yeah.
that's the point. Having open conversation.
I
That is,
look out for the deceptions and the tricks because I know
oh,
they're there.
believe me,
That's what I'm
honey, I
worried
have
about.
to. That's why they don't like me. Because I get nasty about things. I'm like, no. But this one happened to be good. That I know. He was, for whatever reason, fallen, but he was an okay one. So, but yeah, his
So
foot,
when you had these contacts and experiences, you said that you became psychic, or did you have the
no,
psychic ability before that?
I was born with abilities. I didn't understand them as
Do you think that's why they chose you, because you had these abilities?
I know this. The ETs bring about a human's own abilities and they advance them even further. And it's no offense whatsoever. I mean, I don't mind being asked, why have they chosen you? I still ask that. I'm 54. I still freaking ask that question, and I think it's rightly so asked.
But
I don't know why.
it would seem like you watch Elon Musk, right? He buys Twitter, and that guy has done more for free speech than anybody in the last decade, but with that one move. Why wouldn't they contact Elon Musk? Or even if they wanted to have fun, they can contact Kanye
Who
West.
says they haven't?
Who knows what's going to happen? Well,
Here's the thing.
I think he would come out, and you know,
Here's the thing.
Trump, he would.
Here's the thing. Who says they haven't?
Yeah.
Because
well,
get this, an ET can look just like a human.
Right.
To me,
or who knows, he might be one.
You never know. I mean, good grief. Oh my God. There are hybrids on this planet walking around. And supposedly, we're one. Well, that's a whole nother subject. I don't even go there on that one. I mean, I did just a moment ago, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not even going to go there because that's for science to bicker and whine and cry and crab about at each other over. I want to know why this, and for me personally, why am I taken? Why is it me? I know a number of other abductees that are asking the same freaking question every time. They are, hang on a minute, my brain's not doing this. They are what, disallowed?
But she's talking about the prime directive not to interfere in societies, and they're not supposed to be contacting the masses just yet. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that statement simply because there are thousands of races of what we call ET, extraterrestrial. Thousands. Wrap that around your mind. Think about that for a second. How many of those races are actually coming to Earth? How many of them have their own technology to be able to do that? Are all of them as advanced as certain greys, as certain reptilians, as certain oh God, brain fart again. Mantis beings, as certain other, you know, there are orbs. I had 3 orbs in my home, and I knew that they were coming here checking on me. I had a little white one, little blue one, little red one, and I'm looking at them going, and they were so fast. And I knew that each little, and they were about the size of a quarter. And I knew that inside each orb somehow was an ET. I'm a skeptic here, so I am a medical professional. So I have a personal question, and if you are uncomfortable to answer, I completely understand. My question is, have you shared this with your... Yes, actually I have. And that I've also shared that I'm a psychic. Came out of the psychic ET closet in 2018. 2017, I started to come out of the psychic closet. In early 2018, I started telling my doctors, and I had at that time I had a group of doctors. I had a bariatric doctor. I go down a list, but I had a bariatric, a primary care, a long list. Yeah, talked about it. Okay, bit at a
A
time.
bit at a time. There are ETs on Earth, born-ins, invisible, and more working on this program. This comes from my years of research into this subject.
Born-ins. Now, I'd like to find out what she specifically means, born-ins, because there are people... get off my phone. Thank you. Sorry for the buzzing. There are people that classify themselves as walk-ins. Hey, somebody just said thank you for your honesty. You're welcome. I don't pussyfoot. I don't BS around. I'll tell it to you straight. If I know it, I know it, and I'll tell it to you. If I can, and if it doesn't trigger me too much. I'm still working on my own. This has been a heck of a process, and I've been consistently told, years ago, I was consistently told that I'm a fast processor. Born-in is as human. Oh, well, that's interesting. Never thought of it that way. It's the first I think I've heard of it that way, though. I believe the ETs have been here for ages. Okay, now that I can respond to. We are now just realizing it. Yeah, okay. This is what I know. And this is what I have known as a soul. I remember this planet first becoming a planet. I remember before that, I was an ET myself. I was a soul in an ET form. Do I remember what form? No. I remember being in numerous ET wars. So that was millions of years ago which that delves into time. There is no such thing as time as we know it. However, our science tells us differently. But from elsewhere, thank you to share. Love this. Welcome. Yeah, I'm free to ask me anything. I mean,
But doesn't this, as humans, if you believe in God, we're born with free will. I mean, we can say and do anything we want. We have free will to make decisions. There's a lot of stuff thrown at us on purpose, to trick us and all of that. But every time I hear these stories, they're contrary to free will. They're being forced on you, taking your fetus. They show up when they want. They come back as much as they want. You can't stop them. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, did you ever call upon Jesus and say it, like an exorcism or something, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. He commands you to leave. And did it work? But every time these stories are contrary to free will, and to me, that's demonic. But did you ever call upon
okay.
Jesus?
Yes, I have.
And what happened?
Well, then the ETs get asked to leave, and the ones that are higher consciousness, they'll leave. They will leave, but doesn't always work that way. There are ones where that just doesn't work. And
We have
that
to
I
take a
don't
quick
understand.
break. We have to keep. We have to have a quick sponsor break for this hour of Chasing Prophecy Radio. I want to thank Carnation. They are going to be having a wonderful time this season. Make sure when you think about baking your pies and cakes this Christmas season to pick up a can of evaporated milk by Carnation. Thanks again, Carnation, for sponsoring our 10 o'clock slot. Thank you again. Go ahead. I'm sorry about
Go
that.
ahead.
I had a break
That's
for our
okay.
sponsor.
Been a while since I've been on regular radio, terrestrial radio. What was
Well,
This is
to
your...
me,
very
this is
interesting,
like,
This is
yeah, it
very
is
interesting.
very interesting. You know,
Well, I think you answered it about Jesus, but go ahead, Sean. Do you have a question?
yeah, I just want to say for all the guests that we have on that dealt with aliens and ETs and abductees, I really couldn't understand what they were talking about. And with you being on the show, I'm getting a better light of the whole situation. You know,
Oh, good.
I see that you are brutally honest, and I truly appreciate that. And
Okay, you're welcome.
for you to come out and talk about your experiences, God bless you, man. I give you a ton of kudos. Really, man. Seriously.
I don't know
Okay,
how you go
that's gonna
about
make
living
me
a normal
cry.
life.
That's gonna make me cry, dude. Thank you, though. I appreciate
Sorry.
that. I take that to heart. No, it means a lot to me because do you happen to know the amount of well, we're off radio now. We're still on Facebook and what'll
We're
eventually
still
be
on
YouTube
radio.
and stuff.
This is
Okay.
the second hour. We're still on audio. We're still on the radio in New Orleans. We're still
Okay.
everything is still live here. Unfortunately, the people on radio can't see you and
Yeah.
get a visual of what's going on with you. But what I want to say is, with all these experiences, how do you go about living a normal life? I know myself, if I was struggling with this, I don't think I could function as in society with all this stuff happening
No,
to me.
it's been a hell of a mind boggler to be able to deal with this. I think one of my saving graces was the fact that on some level I was allowed to be a mom and experience, even as, which is probably, figure this out right now, it was probably the reason why they, besides the fact that, hello, at 7 years old, I'm screaming my freaking head off at them. Oh my God, it's a monster, it's a monster. You know, you have a 7-8 foot tall reptilian standing at the foot of your bed, and that's going to put a kibosh on them ever wanting you to see them again in your own home environment, in your own turf. So that to me makes sense, but I think on many levels I was allowed to be not so much remembering, having bits and pieces of memories. The other factor is that when they abduct and they take, define normal. Yeah, no kidding. There's an old saying from the 1990s, normal is just a setting on your dryer. Whew! And any Christian from the 1990s knows where that is from. So, because I used to read her books all the time. Anyway, but I think normal, I was allowed to have as much of a normal life as possible. I didn't fully allow myself to access all of the abilities that I can use now. When I was a mom, I had things like what I call black tar moments. And black tar is when somebody's going to die. And black tar is immediate. For me, if I get a black tar feeling, and I haven't had a black tar in a long time, but if I get a black tar feeling, it's heavy on me. It weighs upon my whole being, like 3 feet out from the core of me to 3 feet out, and it is like I am weighed down in black tar, and I feel like I can't move even though I'm out physically walking, talking, having conversations, but I know somebody's going to die. Those I had frequently. Well, I can't say frequently is not the right word. Often would be the better word. And so I still had different abilities. I still had, for example, after my dad died, he would stand next to, and he was from California, or he was living in California for many years, and he would stand next to me, and I wouldn't register that it was his voice that I was hearing. And he'd go, "Now, Nikki, shut that water off while you're brushing your teeth. Shut that water off. You're not needing." And I'm like, "Oh, who is that?" And I just think I'm going nuts. But it was part of my mediumship abilities that I wasn't fully acknowledging. There were multiple different aspects of, oh, Pete's sake, sorry about that, guys. Keep getting buzzed on my phone. So there were many different aspects where I was still able to be a mom. I still a major A-type personality. I was constantly go, 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 go. And I was that way all the way up until 2008 when I had a back injury that put me, didn't know if I was going to walk again, could barely walk, barely make it to a bathroom, couldn't put a spoon or a fork to my mouth, drank out of a straw, got forced to quiet my brain and learn to deal with pain and learn to I knew about meditation for years and years and years, knew about
How,
breathing techniques for a
how
wide
about
variety of reasons. Yeah,
Question?
yeah.
Is your spouse and son present when any of this happens to you? Have they ever been involved, present? Did anything ever happen to them?
I'm gonna walk around that question because if I divulge certain things and where they work, I don't want them in trouble. Bluntly, do I believe one of them was being taken? Yes. Recently, meaning in the last year and a half, I didn't believe the other one was being taken, and unexpectedly found out that they were. To my utter shock, horror, and dismay and anger. My son has abilities, doesn't use them hardly at all. Is very much like me in how I was in my 20s and early 30s. He's 30 now. Biologically, I only have one physical human being on this planet. The 26 ET hybrids, different story. Were they around at the time? In other words, were they in the presence of my physical body when I was taken? Not that I'm aware of. How else can I answer that?
So, what makes you think they've been taken?
When you walk out of your bedroom and you and somebody else are walking out at the same time, and you're trying to remember everything that you had just experienced because you were brought back, and the other person is describing to you in detail what they think is a dream. and it was everything that you had just experienced. Okay, hit emotion. Hang on.
Have you ever tried to start your own support group?
Hang on a minute.
All right,
Sorry.
that's okay.
Oh, bugger. See, I had really hoped and prayed that it wouldn't be them. And it's like survivor's guilt. And on one level, I feel that because of me, one of them was being taken, simply being around me. Now, logically, that's something that I know I need counseling on. I will get there.
Do you
I
have any
understand that.
do you have any physical evidence that this actually happened to you? If, say, I was an investigator and I wanted to know, like, do you have anything that you could show me? Any kind of
Not
physical
that.
evidence?
Okay, I take pictures of my body. I have pictures of unexplained cuts in my body that literally within 12 hours, the kind of cuts where you've had surgery, okay? They did carpal, well, I can't see it. I had carpal tunnel surgery from them on this frickin' wrist. Left wrist. I was just showing my left wrist if we're still on radio. Right wrist is the wrist that I had human carpal tunnel surgery on. Doctor did a fantastic job. Can't really even, unless you're a medical doctor who deals in surgery, you're not going to see the freaking scar. And the one on my left, I don't even think one of our medical human doctors on this planet would even be able to recognize it. The one, and if it hadn't have been for the fact that it was bright red when I woke up, and I'm going, what the heck, what is that? Looking at it, I'm going to be really graphic. I was sitting on the toilet because, hello, when you come back from craft, you gotta pee like a racehorse. And I didn't find this part out. Now people are going to be laughing over that one, but I didn't find this out. The understanding of it is that when you are brought back from a craft, your human body has a physical reaction from the atmosphere. Talk to some scientist. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this one. But this is what I've been told by other abductees who really understand it much better than I do and can graphically tell you why it happens that way in the human body. It doesn't quite make sense to me, but yet it does. So there's some kind of pressure in the ships, some kind of barrier in the ship, some kind of something that stops. I don't want to say stops time, but it's something stops. And on the human body, when you are returned, I mean, the second you're awake, you're running to the bathroom and you're walking really fast going, I gotta go. And you just pee like you've never peed before. Mm-hmm. And so when I was looking at my wrist, and I knew I had just been brought back because I could feel it in my body, but I was like, why was I taken? And I knew that I was ice cold because my room was hot, but yet I had just come back over the fans. My body had just come back over the fans, and I had just come and I felt it, and I felt going through the blankets, and I'm looking at my wrist going, what the bleepity bleep did they do to me this time? And I realized that my thumb and my fingers no longer hurt. And I was like, wait a minute. And that's when I went, get out of this bathroom and go, wipe and wash your hands and go get your camera and picture.
I'll remember that 3 o'clock in the morning every time I have to get up to go to the bathroom.
The only time it's ever happened to me is if I've ever been given a water pill, which is very rare in my lifetime, or coming back from ET abduction, or if I've ever been in an ER, which is also very rare, and I've been put on an IV and they've given me I want to say saline fluids because I was dehydrated.
That makes sense.
That's the only time.
What were you doing before, like immediately before these encounters and immediately afterwards?
Okay, I'm going to tell you something. I usually know before I'm going to get taken. It's a little different now in the last year. Beforehand, I used to get, and doctors are going to flip their gourd. Now that I know that there's doctors listening, don't flip your gourd about this. I do not have tinnitus. It's been proven. I do not have tinnitus. I get a ringing in my left ear. It's a very loud, very high-pitched ring. And ever since they've done surgery on my eustachian tube and my throat to enlarge it, which that's a whole nother subject, the ringing is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I know that I'm going to get taken. Now that ringing when it happens, it used to be I would be taken within 3 days. And if I started getting numerous ringings in one day, which didn't happen very often, but it has happened, I would get taken immediately. And I've even had ET standing in this apartment trying to put me out, knock me out, and I will literally grab anything physical, typically a bottle, like this is a bottle of Propel, I've got a bottle of iced tea, I'll grab it, make myself physically known, make myself conscious and alert and aware, and go, I'm not going right now, guys. You can't make me. And then they're like, no, you got to go. And that's, I feel it. I don't hear it. I feel the sensation of, no, you've got to go. I don't hear it mediumship wise. They're not telepathic. And so that's what I call being pushed. And I'm like, no. And then I'll go in, I'll start getting food, high protein, I'll start getting vitamin B12, and I'll start downing as much B12, which is medically safe, and as much high protein food. And because I don't want to go, I'm like, bleepity bleep, F you, screw you, I'm not going. You can't make me go this time. And most of the time that works, not all the time. And they'll try to force me asleep either in my chair, or they're like, we're going to walk you to bed. And I'm like hell you are. No way. I don't think so. If you hear yelling in the background, there's kids outside playing in the snow. It snowed here last night. So
wow.
So that's what you're hearing in the background. There's kids out in the play area. Anyway, because I just heard it. So yeah, I will, there are times where I fought it and they're like, well, I guess we're not going. And I'm like, thank you. And then there have been times where they have literally forced it. And I'm like, I'm not falling asleep. You screw my back up every single frickin' time you try to put me asleep in this chair. At least let me get to the bed. What is so freaking important that you got to take me this time that I've got to go lie down?
Okay,
I don't want to go lie down.
I'm going to be the, I don't know what everybody's thinking about.
Just be it.
Like the elephant in the room, I guess. The question is, and you see a lot of, like movies portray alien abductees and what they do. Saturday Night Live always makes fun of it, like, were you probed? Is that just something that somebody made up? I mean, does that happen? Can you give me
there are people that get, there are folks that get, and I have, if I open up the chat, if that's for me, if I open that up, I will not be able to see you guys, and it'll cut me out of StreamYard. Just an FYI. So elephant in the room. That's good.
Wants to know. I mean, you see it on. There's so many different television shows, podcasters, MUFON experiencers that always want to say, "Oh, you got probes." That's what.
There are times. I mean, hello. I've had. They've.
You know that.
Okay. There are times when I have felt like I've been raped because they are removing. Somebody on the other side just said ovum. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say eggs. Where they have removed my eggs. Now, I'm going to be very blunt. I have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which technically makes you infertile, depending upon what doctor you go to and what you believe and blah, 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 blah that goes along with that crap. All right. So, so the fact that I could even get pregnant and have my one biological son was kind of a big deal back in the early 1990s. Because back then it was not talked about. So the fact that they were taking my eggs, and then doing their lovely little genetic magic with them, and splicing and dice. See, I call it splicing, dicing, and other things that they do in order to create these children. And there have been times where they have, they've messed with my uterus, and I've known it. And those times I've felt like I've been raped, and I'm like, okay, this is what pisses me off. This is what makes me want to take a hatchet.
How about Gina's question, if you could read that?
Do they take, okay, hang on a minute. Do they take you when you are alone? Yes. Do they take you at nighttime? Yes. How long are you gone? Okay, how long are you gone? Here's a great question, folks. Really great question. Okay, I can set my alarm clock, say for 8 hours. I can wake up 20 minutes, 30 minutes before that alarm goes off. And yet I can feel like I have been gone for a month. Now, get this. This is what I'm learning now. Okay? What I'm learning now is the fact that you can actually, since time doesn't exist and they have a way of manipulating time in some fashion or form, and I do not understand that. I am not one to talk about that in the sense of how that happens. Talk to a scientist. I mean, like a hardcore, deep into science guy. I'm not the one to talk about that. All I know is they do something to where they can manipulate the time. An example of that, one of my children, we haven't even begun to talk about how fast these hybrid children grow. That is a subject for conversation, a very deep subject for conversation. We should talk about that at some point, okay? Very serious. It is mind-boggling. But one of my children, and I'd have to look, and when I say I keep explicit records, I keep explicit records, I'd have to go back and find the exact date this occurred. But I believe it was 2019. I had at the beginning of the year, and there's seasons to abductions. FYI, folks, if you're an abductee, start keeping records. There is a season to when they take.
When is it?
If you're in the hybrid program, if you're in one of many different hybrid programs, you can start getting taken in August, July, end of July, beginning of August. They do an implantation. They start setting your body up. If you're a female, I don't know what they do to the males. I kind of don't want to know. Oh, for Pete's sake. Sorry, goats. I keep getting these notifications. So they start setting up for implantation. Okay, this is what I started when I started journaling this. This is when in 2018 I started journaling then, and that's when I started making the realization by 2019. My God, there's a season to this. There really is a freaking season. So I start getting taken end of July, beginning of August. By the end of August, if it's really the end of August and I haven't been taken by that point, I will get taken. It is a major abduction. I don't remember it. I just remember it as it's a serious thing. Then for me in October, they do an implantation because for me, I have children for 3 months. I have a baby implanted in me. And to my knowledge and understanding, it's only been oh, for God's sake, I can't even remember the terminology. Not a blastoma. God, sorry guys, I can't think of the terminology of pregnancy at this second. It's been too long. Do abductions only happen at night? No, they don't. Oh my God, no, they don't. Mine seem to, but for the most part, but no, they don't. Time dilation technology. Thank you, Robert White. That's the words I couldn't think of. So yeah, there's a time dilation in all of this. So, but I get implanted in October, November. And very rarely will it be as late as December, the middle of December.
Well,
And
let me ask you something. So you're 54. Do they still do that?
Yes. They did it as late as they haven't done it this year. And then the other side got involved and they're like, "You're pregnant." And I'm like, "Bullshit." Sorry guys. I'm like, "Bull." and they're like, "No, you're pregnant." And then I get it. I don't tell any of my friends. And most of them are all psychics, and I'm like, "I got a question for you." They're like, "Oh God, will you want us to do a scan?" And I'm like, "Uh-huh." And they're like, "Nope, you're not pregnant." I'm like, "See, you can't freaking tell me that I'm pregnant when I know dang well I'm not, because there's a different shift in me.
What's going to happen when you can't get pregnant anymore? What are they going to do with you?
That's what I want to know. I don't know. I honestly do not know. Now, I know, okay, here's something. I know a woman who, and this is documented, she and her husband document this. And they're rather public about it. And there are some things that they don't make public. And one of those is they do not produce pictures, but they've got them. And I know that I know that they've got them, and I'm not going to say how I know. But anyway, she cannot physically have children. They implanted what we would classify as a full-term 8 to 9 month pregnancy in her stomach. She did not have the physical capacity as a woman to have a physical child. Okay. Now, 24 hours later, and she was, this is her story, this is not mine. She explained that she was leaking things from her breasts, and I'm not going to go into that. And they documented every step of it. And 24 hours later, the baby was gone. Her belly was back to normal. It stretched out. I don't understand. And they were just absolutely appalled. It does happen. It does happen. This kind of thing takes place. Now, here's the other thing. Before I forget this, because that just brought up a memory. What people need to understand, everybody talks about, oh, I've got an ET implant. Guess what, guys? They don't just implant it in your body. Like me, I found out the hard way. They can implant an ET device in the etheric. So you can be walking around and never physically have an implanted device in your body, but it will be in your auric field. And I'm like, what the? I had 2 people confirm that. I had somebody look at me who deals with auras on a regular basis. And she goes, Nikki, why do you have an opening in your aura? I keep wanting to say auric field because that's what it is, but in your aura. And I said, what are you talking about? And she goes, you literally have a slice out of your aura field.
Just hanging out with Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, it kind of freaked me out, man, when I first heard that. I'm here to tell you, I had to have a lot of energy work that day because I got so frightened over that. And it took a while for me to even process it. And then I come across other people who have talked about it. It's very rare, but it does happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nikki, do you ever feel like there's other entities like government officials, military involved in any of this? These abductee encounters that you have?
Oh, yeah. In mine, okay, I have been told that the excuse me, that the ET that I had standing next to me, the one that I described beginning of the show, where she had a weapon, I have been told that is part of the government ET program. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, seriously, what are you talking about? Because I do not have any memory of that whatsoever. And people will tell me, oh, you need to look into MK Ultra. You need to look into, and they'll list a bunch of different things. And I'm like, I don't think I can handle that right now. I have issue with the fact that I made a statement in 2019, in 2019, had to think of the day or the year, to and I got to be very careful because I was threatened with legal action.
Who threatened you with legal action?
I'm not going into that right now, but I was threatened if I state certain stuff.
Is this someone from the government? Is this someone from the FBI? Or is this just some kind of...
Okay, so the person that I talked to, I'm bypassing your question. I can probably, well, no, I can't say it offline. Anyway, my point is that the person that I spoke with was a government agent. Okay. I asked about a piece of information that I knew of when I was 17, 18 years old. Piece of information that I had my hands on and had read. 4 to 5 days later, and I say 4 to 5 days because 4 is what's in my head, but I'm not sure if it was 5. 4 to 5 days later, I had deep government black ops psyops trying to access my memories via a very malicious form of very treacherous form of abilities. I don't know what else to call it. It's a program. And they've tried ever since because they want to know exactly what I know. And I'm like, you know what? I was trained by one of the best in protecting my memories. You are never going to have it. There will be things that I will talk about. There are 3 chapters, 1 to 3 chapters. I will never freaking reveal, but up to 3, probably not. But the one I will never talk about it. Everything else I will frickin' talk about. They want to know exactly what I know. And I've had problems ever since, and I've had confirmation from other people
Who
who
trained you?
have clarified the fact that I'm being effed with.
Who trained you to protect yourself?
The first person to train me was when I was a teenager. She had a psychic mother. Another person was a friend of hers who was a clairvoyant. She was a teenage clairvoyant. And she and her partner, then they eventually married, were ones to train me to protect myself. And then after that, I unexpectedly met somebody who, if I reveal who and what they were, could potentially get me into some very, very, very serious trouble and put my family and everybody I know at risk.
Instead of who, what did they like? How do you do this for the audience? What would you say? How do you protect yourself? What are the methods?
Start visualizing. See, that's what I didn't understand. Why can I do this and protect myself against what I call these asshats, these government asshats, and yet not protect myself against the ETs? That's what I want to know. But it's because they are thousands of years older than we are and so far advanced consciously. Okay, so how to protect? Start getting visual. Start thinking of visualization techniques regarding creating rooms in your brain. Start picturing using visualization techniques relaxation rooms, so to speak. Start getting very deep into that. Also start into researching consciousness and astral, because a lot of those subjects will open doors for you in how to protect your own brain. The more you advance in those sections, I was going to say that section, but in those sections of your brain, you will actually be able to figure out different methods for yourself and what works for you to be able to protect yourself from, psychics that are unscrupulous. So, and the experiences I've had with some of them. So, does that answer, or do you need a little bit more?
Well, I mean, if there's more that you can tell the people how to protect themselves.
It's creating stronger and stronger methods in your brain. Building. Basically, what you're doing is you're building upon building upon building different levels in your in your consciousness. And as you build, you become stronger. And
I'll tell you what, Nikki, this was a fascinating talk and discussion with you this evening. I really appreciate it. I could sit here and talk to you for hours and pick your brain some more. If there's any other questions, please post it now, because we're going to be saying goodbye to Nikki for the evening. So if you have any other questions, please post them, and she will be gladly answer them. Oh, crystals. What does he talk? Crystals? Yes, they are. He's kidding.
yes. Crystals are a good form of protection. There are many different forms of protection. Calling on your deity, calling on God, calling on Jesus, whoever you believe in. Calling on your ancestors too is another one. The ones who came before you in your physical family. Wow, they really are there for you. I've learned the hard way and the great way. If you need them, they will show up. And you may not feel them. You don't have to be a psychic, but just call on them if you need them. And it's a dire situation. Ask for help.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't think there's any other questions. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to you tonight. Thank you again
Nikki.
for joining us. And if someone needs to get in contact with you, is there an email or anything they can jot down?
Restore Belief 2022@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me, or on Facebook at Nikki NIKKI.JACOBS.376, and on Restore Belief at YouTube.
Okay.
That's my
Well,
channel.
you've had it. You've heard it. Thanks again, Nikki, for joining us tonight
Thank you,
on Chasing
Nikki.
Prophecy. You have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Wow. That is something else. John Ventry, you're quiet. Go ahead and tell us what you think.
I have a hard time with these discussions. She was able to answer the questions. It wasn't like too much having to think about the answers. But I don't know. I just think about this, and I don't see the good in it. When people say it's a positive experience, they're here to help, but yet you're being raped. They come back whenever they want. You can't stop them. To me, if that's not demonic, and a trickster, I don't know what is. But I think in a lot of ways it's very sad, and I have a hard time with this being a good thing.
Well,
So
I agree with you on that.
yeah, I got to start packing up because they're closing here. They've been waiting for me.
Well, I'm surprised you could see you're almost to 9:00 hour, but
They closed at 8.
Oh, wow.
okay.
And to my new sponsor, it's Panera.
Well, you can ask them if they want to be a sponsor. That would be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for
Thanks,
trying
John.
to make it, John. We
Okay.
appreciate it. That was a very interesting talk. We had a lot of conversation going on in the chat, which was really interesting. A lot of people were interested in this kind of stuff. To me,
I was.
definitely, I still find it to be, if I was abducted, I don't think I would be so nonchalant about it. I think I would be traumatized. To say
Well,
the least, 'cause
I'm sure Nikki was traumatized at one point in time. Had to be.
maybe, I don't know. I know I've had experiences. We talked with. We're going to have to get Brian Sharpless back on. I'm going to have to see if I can contact him. And one of these times we're going to have him on the show. If we can't, with an alien hybrid or abductee. So maybe Nikki would want to come back on when we had Brian on the show.
Well, we got
Because
Joe Jordan going to be on too, and he'll give you a totally different view of this whole thing.
Yeah, I would love to hear a totally different.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know how she said there was figures in her front of her bed. I know I've had that happen to me, but I always thought it was, shadow people, or there was never nothing nice about it. And like Brian would say that was sleep paralysis. So some kind of chemical in your brain that, we should definitely have him back on the show. He's flown it twice, Sean?
Yeah, he's been on twice.
I don't know. I just find it to be scary, fascinating, something that I would not want to experience. And
True.
I don't know how you go about your normal life if something like that happened. That's
I
my
don't think you. I don't think you could. To be honest with you, I think it would just be a hard, um, a hard
if there's
thing
any
to do.
yeah, and if there's anybody out there has a question or comment about Nikki, a comment about her being on the show, what do you think? Your opinion of what happens to her, what you think it is, and if you think it is an experience with an extraterrestrial or higher being, please put it in the comment. We'd love to hear you in the last 10 minutes we do have of the show. Very interesting stuff.
This is very interesting. I, you know, it was great. And I meant when I told her that I was totally impressed with her and giving her all those kudos for speaking out like that. There's not too many people that would do that.
Yeah, because you could
You
like backfire. They think you're crazy.
Right.
Hmm.
But I guess everybody thinks everybody's crazy of some sort, don't you think?
Wow.
Oh,
I
how
don't
was
know. I
your
like to.
Thanksgiving?
That was beautiful. Very nice. I have a lot to be thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
I did, it was my first bird and I did a really good job. So I'm really proud of myself. Everything
Good.
was delicious. Everybody helped and pitched in. It was really nice. How about yours?
Mine was quiet. I did all the cooking. I was off that day, so I started cooking the turkey in the morning and I made this green bean casserole. Oh my God, was it so good! I was really impressed with myself. And them little French fry onion thingies that you put on
Yeah,
top of them, they are so good.
I
They're
never
so
made
full.
that.
Oh my God, it was so good.
I
And
just
we
had
put
green beans.
yeah, and we put portobello mushrooms in with it too.
Oh, that's
So
different. That's
yeah, it
different.
was,
That's
and
very good.
and it was
That's
quiet.
great.
It was
Yeah.
quiet.
I do want to do, I would like to talk about something, that I think everybody out there should watch. If you don't have Rumble, you should get Rumble. We're on Rumble right now. You can download the app, but I'm not going to give you the whole, um, talk about it, but I think everybody should watch. It's called, Suddenly. I'm not going to go put the whole title in because I'm afraid we'll be banned. So if you have Rumble, go to and just search suddenly. There's another word after that, and a lot of people are being banned from Facebook and Twitter for posting it. But I think everybody should watch it. It's a real eye opener, and it's scary as hell. And I
Really?
just think yes, very very scary, and it's sad. But my Christmas story about a magical tree,
Yeah.
Rocky the Rockefeller Christmas tree, is on promotion this week for 5 days on Kindle. You can get it for free. So if you have little kids in your family, son or daughter, baby, child, toddler, it's up for, or niece, nephew, or friend who has kids. It's geared for 4 to about 8 years old. It's about a little Christmas tree named Rocky. He was a Norway spruce, but not like any other spruce. He was bent the wrong way. His leaves were hardly ever green, and it's a fairy tale. So if you have any children, it's free on Kindle for 5 days. I believe that last, I say it's the 30th. Is there 31 days in November? I can't
There's
remember.
30. There's 30. There's 30.
Okay, depends. I'm such a jerk. Well, it's free for 5 days, so you can go to Kindle and purchase it on Kindle, and you can watch it on any kind of iPad or phone. It's an ebook. Oh, thank you, Joe.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Joe. Thank you, Joe.
I used to go back to grade school. What can I say? I am terrible about
Oh,
anything with
oh,
numbers. But it's like, and I'm going to promote From the Sky, which is my trilogy, my 3-book trilogy. Actually, there's 4, but I haven't got the 4th one out. So if you'd love to have me as a guest on your show, anybody, I am a sci-fi writer and a fiction writer, and I'm hoping to start writing again as soon as we get everything done with the house. There's so many things now. We have plumbing issues, so there's a lot of things that we need to fix. So I'll be able to do that. And if you think it'd be a great sponsor for Chasing Prophecy, definitely give us a holler. We'd love to have you as a sponsor on our show. And remember, we're available on many platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Rumble, TikTok. So you'll be able to pick us up anywhere. And our podcast is available right after the show on SoundCloud, on all many different, radio.com, anything like that. You can probably pick it up on. And Sean, what is your show about tonight? You told me to watch it.
Yeah, I got a friend. My friend Tara was on last week, and she has a mentor that's up in Butler. Her name is Natasha, and she is practicing Wiccan.
Yay.
And she has her own store up there. It's going to be an interesting show.
Now, is she the kind of witch that does spells, like love spells? Because I could use one.
No, well, you know what? You can listen to the show, and then I'll ask her that question.
Well, I always want to know, like, if a guy's talking to you, you can ask her this, and I'm going to listen. If a guy's talking to you, he texts you every day almost, and he says, hello, how are you? But he hasn't asked you out yet. Why is that? So why don't you ask your witch friend?
I'll tell you that right now, being the man, because he's afraid that you're going to, because he's afraid that you are just going to decline him, and that he's kind of
What if you gave him the idea that you were interested in him? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to ask him out, or what the heck?
It's the 21st century. Yeah, women do that, but no, it's all done. It stems from way back. Men don't want to get hurt. And
oh, geez,
it's true. It's true. But maybe.
Yeah, I would like to know about love spells. Are they true, or is it like something that you shouldn't do? You shouldn't go against somebody's, that you shouldn't interfere with their will.
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm going to ask her that. And my show starts at 10 p.m. Eastern,
So we'll have to watch it. Yeah, definitely. I'll watch it while I'm going to put up the Christmas tree. I already did that. What am I talking about? I'm going to put the train under the Christmas tree.
There you go. There you go.
And try to relax a little bit. Busy day. Yes. Putting Christmas tree up and having water everywhere. It doesn't mix very well. No. But we're gonna close it out early tonight so Sean can get some rest before his big show. So if you think you'd be a great guest for Chasing Prophecy Radio, please email me at chasingprophecyradio@gmail.com.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody, and thank you for tuning in.